Hello there YouTube, and this is the Rogue Gem Player coming at you with a vampire deck profile. This is for the Halloween special episode, if you want to think of it that way. Why not? It's Halloween, so I figured bring something. I like vampires, so why not? Let's have some fun with it. It does have some competitive things put into it, but not really. If you want to, you can make a competitive version, go overboard with it if you like, but figured, you know what, let's have some little fun. So we're going to start with, for the vampires, we're going to start with 3 copies of Vampire Ghost. He is the best card in the entire deck now, since his release. How this card works, when on normal, you can add you send another vampire card from your hand or face it field to the graveyard, so you can use the various low-level monsters. You add a level 4 or higher vampire from deck to hand, and then you send a level 2 or lower. There are currently, to my knowledge, no level 3s. That we really want to be playing, so you're not going to search level 3s off of it, but we are going to be using the level 1 and level 2s to facilitate plays. Not to mention, it does give you an additional normal summon if you pay 500 to use it when you banish it from the graveyard. We are then playing 3 copies of Vampire Familiar, which when special summoned, you pay 500 to add a spell trap vampire from deck to hand. You can also send a vampire card from your hand or field to special summon this. It does banish itself when it leaves the field. And we then play 3 copies of Vampire Familiar, which is basically the same thing except it searches out monsters. So this is a little bit more useful in this deck. And they are your main combo enablers. This is how you get into your link plays and what you send off of the ghost when you normal summon it. We then play 2 copies of Vampire Sorcerer. Sorcerer is a little bit better now. It used to not really be that great to play, mainly because you now have the ability to dump it very easily with Ghost, which gives you an additional which will give you a normal summon when it goes into the graveyard as well. Not to mention that this card allows you to summon the high levels without tributing, which is actually pretty important because you get enough additional normal summons to kind of trick these guys out. So, not to mention, if this card does die by an opponent's card, you can add a Dark Vampire from deck to hand if you need to do so. So now we go into the high-level monsters. This is going to be going from kind of, not really any like level order, but kind of like, I'll explain how as it goes on. So we're going to start with 1 copy of Scarlet Scourge. Probably one of the best newish ones. On normal or special, you basically can pay 1,000 to summon a vampire from the graveyard. So it allows you to make link plays, exceed plays. That monster can't attack, so keep that in mind. And then for some of the new ones, if you kill something in battle, it does allow you to bring that back at the so keep that in mind at the end of the battle phase. Vampire Grace, if you summon a level 5 or higher zombie from your graveyard from your feet to your field, while this is in by the effect of a zombie monster, while this is in your graveyard, you pay 2,000 to bring it back. So it gives you another free monster for 2,000. 1 copy of Vampire or Shadow Vampire. This is specifically used for exceed summoning, but now that we have links, you can use it for link material. On normal summon, you summon a Dark Vampire from hand or deck. You are locked from attacking except for that monster, so keep that in mind. But it is one of those, you can swarm the board with it, and it's also why we only run 1 copy of it, because it does kind of float into other stuff if you play it. We do play 1 copy of Vampire Duke, which is basically the same thing as Shadow Vampire, except it summons from the graveyard. In addition to that, but it doesn't lock you, but it does summon that monster in defense mode, so keep that in mind. 1 Frowlin, this is good for battle phase tactics. When you when a monster declares an attack, you can immediately special summon this card from your hand in defense mode, so keep that in mind. You can pay life points up to 3,000 to lower the opposing monster's attack by that much. So if you have this in attack mode, you pay basically enough to beat it by 100 points, and then you automatically kill it. In addition to that, it has the same effect as Scarlet Scourge, where she summons a monster from the graveyard that it has killed at the end of the battle phase. So keep that in mind. 1 copy of Vampire Vamp to steal stuff. So keep that in mind. Just helps with that. So that is all of the vampire-esque monsters. We are going to the generic zombie support, which starts with 3 copies of Unizombie. Unizombie is absolutely amazing. This deck, there's now 2 ways of getting into this, or there's 2 ways of going into your combo, and that is through Ghost or through Unizombie. Unizombie allows you to send the 2 copies of Mizuki we do play. You can play more if you want, so you have that. It also can send the low levels to bring them back out, so you always have access to monsters for either link plays, synchro plays, exceed plays, whatever you need. It gives you so much that it's not even funny. So, and then for some kind of like generic zombie world stuff, we are playing the 1 Doom King Balderok, the 1 copy of Jackabolin, the 1 copy of Necrolord Banshee, and the 1 copy of Glow Up Bloom, because we absolutely need to have access to our stuff. Not to mention that if you have Zombie World on the field, you can immediately bring out the monster instead of adding it to your hand. And then, because we have to play some non-engine, we're going to play some 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joyspring, 2 copies of Droll Mockbird, and 2 copies of Nibiru. If you have Molcharmies, you can put the Molcharmies in. Keep in mind that they have been announced to be in the 5Ds build decks that are going to be coming out next month, and all the Molcharmies are coming out as reprints in them. So if you want to wait until then, you can wait until then, or you can pick them up as they drop in value. That's all the monsters. Now for spells, we're going to start with the 2 copies of Zombie World. Zombie World is absolutely ridiculous. It shuts down so many decks. Fiendsmith can't even combo because they have all their stuff is Fiend, or all their stuff is zombies now. Your graveyard is basically untouchable, like the Yummy stuff, because if they have to touch light beasts, can't use them. They can't tribute monsters except for zombies, because they have, which means they can't tribute summon from hand, so that sets up the monarch stuff that's floating around. There's a lot of things that this card stops, and plus you have access to it because of Necrolord Banshee. We then play, for the vampire spells, we're playing 2 copies of Desires, which is basically a Foolish Burial that can also level modulate. So it's pretty cool as well. It also is a Monster Reborn as well, because you can target a monster on your you can send a monster on your board to the graveyard to bring back up a vampire. And then we're playing 1 copy of 1 Vampire's Domain. I kind of want to play more of this, but honestly, it's so searchable, and once you've gone through your combo, you really don't want to see it again. It gives you that additional normal summon on top of whatever other ones, and it does give you life, but generally speaking, what you're doing is using this card to basically use the additional normal summon in order to extend your plays. So, and then for the only non-engine spells, we were playing 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, because you dump everything into the graveyard. You don't need your hand necessarily. So, and then for the traps, we're playing 2 copies of Vampire Domination. This is actually really good. Negate spell trap. It's just, or monster effect. While you control a vampire, you negate it, obviously. And then if it's a monster, you gain life equal to the attack. So if you negate a 3,000 attack point monster, you gain 3,000 life, which could help, in theory, keep you alive, especially because we pay a lot of life points in this deck. And then 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, because that's a really good hand trap to always have if you have the space for it. So, now for the extra deck. The extra deck is going to be split up to the zombie-related support, and then we have some couple like random generic stuff that you can play while not under any of the locks. We're going to start with 2 copies of Vampire Sucker. Free draws is free draws. Not to mention, you can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your opponent's field of defense, and it becomes a zombie. So that does help you with that. And then if you tribute summon, you can tribute a zombie your opponent controls. So with Zombie World, you are still good. So you could tribute over your opponent's stuff and get a free draw by bringing something back. And then we're playing 1 copy of Fascinator, which helps with it's a link 3 that allows you to bring out a monster from your opponent's graveyard, so you can link climb as well. And then you can also steal your opponent's monsters by tributing vampires as well. We then play one copy of Flying Mary, the Wandering Ship. This card is actually really cool. So what this card does is it requires 2 zombies. If people don't know this, it has 0 attack. But what it is when it's you target a level 5 or higher zombie that's banished in your graveyard, you special summon that monster and then equip this card with it. And what this card does, as a continuous spell, you can and then you can target a level 5 or higher zombie and then destroy a monster your opponent controls with less attack than that. So this allows you kind of like a monster reborn that can also recur from banished. One Vendread Slayer Savior, which good for battle phase tactics because you're not going to use the first effect. You're using the second effect to level modulate, and it sends a zombie when you do so. And then for Exceeds, we're playing one Dhampir Vampire Sheridan and 2 copies of Zombie Vampire. The Zombie Vampire. You're going to steal your opponent's monsters, you're going to level modulate. It just gives you access to it. It does dump when you summon it, so that's nice to have as well. If you have Vividode, which I'm really not sure too much about, it's the level 8 that on normal summon can resurrect 2 monsters your opponent controls, or your opponent in your opponent's graveyard. You can do that as well. I'm not really great on that because it does require some setup. Then for synchros, we're playing one Immortal Dragon, one copy of Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon, one Skeletal Dragon Felgran, and the one copy of Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. These are some zombie synchros that we have access to that completely make the deck a little bit better with using synchros. You can use some of the Mai Kashi synchros, like the level 9, the level 11, if you choose to play those. They do their own thing, which is neat. But you can level modulate to make any of the other synchros with this. So that is all of the synchros. And then for generic stuff, IP, SP, and the one copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because you play a lot of high levels, and when you summon this, it's going to make it so that your opponent is basically locked out of the game. So, like I said, this is one of those kind of cool concept decks where you just have some fun, play some vampires against, some random anti-dark deck or something like that, and just have some fun. Something you can take to your locals if you're doing like a Halloween event this weekend. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and happy Halloween, guys. Bye.